Okay, so hi everyone, this is Durin again. I know same shirt, but it's winter and I don't change up a lot. Now I know it's been a long time since I created the last guide, but I just wanted to make sure that every improvement I made and everything I did for the update was actually useful and was the best I could do. So you're gonna be seeing in the background clips of me killing some endgame bosses like Arbiter, Bleach boss. I think I included the Trial of Sekema's last boss, Tier 18 bosses. I think this was actually my first kill of a Tier 18. And you will see through the clips that there's things that change on the build. Like I added Sigil of Power, for example, for that boss damage, and then I added, I think it's so called Bone Offering. Uh, And you will see also the changes in tooltip damage from Bonestorm. Like, for example, here I dropped my first level 20 gem, and I think I went from 96k to 110k just from upgrading the Bonestorm gem. But the important things about the build is it's become smoother. Like, it feels way smoother to play now than when I did the build. Like, for example, we automated the Bonestorm cast speed. So you just have to click it and you can run normally. There's no need to bug it or anything. You can see I'm casting it moving without bugging it. It's just you point and click and you throw a full salvo basically. And my opinion on the build is pretty much the same as before. Like, I think it has potential for improving still. Probably not as much as other builds like Spark or anything. But it's definitely not gonna get nerfed, I can tell you that. And it's gonna feel really, really good for you. Like, if you are enjoying playing with Bonestorm with the previous build, you're definitely gonna enjoy it more now with the changes. And that's basically why I took so long for updating the guide. Okay, so I will see you now in game and show you the skill gems, the setup we have, the gear, and the passives, and then we will run maybe a couple maps or one map to show you the playstyle and how it's played, and so you can see how the changes actually affect the build or damage, playstyle, and everything. See you in a bit. Okay, so welcome back. Now we hopefully are into the game. Like, I'm really bad at editing and using OBS and stuff like that, so I hope you can excuse me if anything goes wrong. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing first the gem setup as I told you, and then we will go through the items, the passives, the ascendancy, and I will tell you some of the breaking points of the build, like what you want to achieve for the build to feel great to play. So first of all, for the gem setup, we have power siphon because we are using siphoning one, but yeah, this is like as I told you in the previous guide, don't pay attention to the basic attack. Then we have Sigil of Power from the teaming staff. We use this for bossing. I don't know if there's anything we can socket in here that will improve the skill effect, but for now I'm just running it like this. Then Life Remnants we have from our passives, like from the Ascendancy, like from Sanguimancy, and we have Cannibalism for uh, healing ourselves when we kill enemies, then Clarity, and then Vitality. But Vitality, you can totally remove it. I think it's useless, if I'm being honest with you. And maybe you can make room for socketing Green Fist, for example. Then you can go with Bonestorm, and the main setup for Bonestorm, at least for me, is with Brutality, Scattershot mandatory, Arcane Tempo also mandatory, and then Physical Mastery and Inspiration are optional. Like, Physical Mastery gives you the same damage as, for example, Inevitable Critical, or maybe you want to throw in Consider Casting for more damage even though it reduces your cast speed. But if you can manage it, maybe Consider Casting would be the best. And then Inspiration is just because with a level 33 Bonestorm, if I don't soak it in Inspiration, I kill myself basically. So I will have to solve some other issues before being able to socket anything else. Then we have Skeletal Warrior. This is for the Bone Offering, as you saw in the last clip. We're using it with Mid Shield, Maim, and Last Gasp. This is optional, but you saw for boss damage is really good, so you might want to use it. Then Bone Cage with Lockdown for pinning, Spell Cascade to repeat itself, and Splinter. This is useless, but I just throw it in for whatever. Then we have Profane Ritual for power charge generation with Unleash for it to trigger 2 additional times. Intense Agony for less skill effect duration is the only thing we care about. And Fast Forward again for the same, for less skill effect duration. Then we have Blasphemy. Blasphemy would be the alternative to Bone Offering with the 2 Skeletal Warriors. You can see right now I don't have it active. You can choose what you prefer, like I don't know if Blasphemy with vulnerability actually stacks with breaking armor. I don't think so. Like I think when an enemy has fully broken armor, vulnerability does nothing to it, but I don't know, I don't know how to test that. So in my opinion, I would recommend you to stick to the 2 Skeletal Warriors and Bone Offering for both damage, and for now just remove vulnerability. Then we have Detonate with Magnified Effect, Consider Casting, Spell Echo, and Ambush. And this is mainly used in breach or ritual situations when you are going to be surrounded by enemies and you don't have the time to cast Bonestorm, or you maybe get stunned while casting and then you die because you didn't recover life from leeching or from cannibalism. And just spamming Detonate Death is much faster and it does a lot of damage and lets you clear. But for clears in normal maps, you are not going to need Detonate Death. And then Soul Offering, as I told you, for boss damage, with Persistence, with Dance Macabre, and with Ablation. Then now we're gonna go for the gearing. Keep in mind, my year is endgame year, and some of these items that you're seeing here are expensive. But you can either reduce the tier of the modifiers or just remove one of the modifiers, like additional modifiers that are not mandatory, to reduce the price. Okay, so for example, in the one, you can say I have pretty much everything you want in a one, which is spell damage, physical damage, crit, and cast speed, and level of all physical spell skills, and the tiers are quite high. Okay, so for example, if you can't afford a +5, or if you're having mana issues because your Bonestorm level is too high, you can take a +3 or a +4 one, for example. And then you will struggle less with mana, the cost of the one is going to be less, maybe it goes down 3-4 divines even. So keep that in mind when buying the gear or when upgrading. That some of these things are not mandatory, it's just for more damage and it's not gonna make the build feel better to play. It's just gonna be the additional things you need to clear endgame bosses. But for normal mapping, you can reduce these tiers like significantly and you will still be able to clear everything. Then Snake Pit is actually mandatory for the way we play the build. And I'm running it in the left ring slot because I want it to fork and not chain. And that's because we are running a split shot in the amulet as an anointment, and I will later show you why. But yeah, Snake Pit basically gives us fork or chain if you want to run it in the other side, if you prefer that, with spell damage and cast speed. That's nothing else. And then the helmet, armor, gloves, and boots are used for capping resistances, basically. We have resistances, and resistances, and the belt also resistances, and some additional modifiers. But you can see that if you need to use one of these for just resistances, and you cannot throw in, for example, critical damage bonus or critical hit chance or additional charms, it's totally fine. As I was telling you, like you can see I'm running, for example, a golden charm, which is totally useless. The stone charm is not really useful either. So you can, for example, plus 2 charm slots, you can remove this and get an additional resistance. You can get an additional resistance here instead of critical damage bonus, or here instead of critical hit chance. You can remove rarity, and then the item will be much cheaper here. Instead of 30% increase movement speed, you can get 25 movement speed, and it's still gonna be fine. Then for the other ring, we have a prismatic ring for the 10% elemental resistances. You can get something else. This is what I needed for capping. But again, for rings, for example, I would say mandatory is mana regeneration, 5 mana. And then the other thing, you can maybe get rid of the life or get a tier less of life. Instead of 100, you get 70 HP. Remove rarity, remove like strength is useless for us, but you can remove that and stick with the cast speed and mana regen and mana, and it will be much cheaper than this ring. For example, I think it was like 40 binds. So you can go for a maybe 10 exalted alternative with less life, no rarity and no strength. Then for the amulet, we want the plus level to all spell skills. Again, what your build can manage with your mana regeneration and everything. The highest level of all spell skills you have in total, the more your Bonestorm will cost, and the harder it will be to manage, and the more expensive the things will get. So you can start reducing that, and then when you fix your build or when you improve your build enough, then go for it. And then we won life. I got charge resistance because I needed it to cap, but then increased evasion rating and strength are totally useless for me, like they give me basically nothing. And then as I told you, the anointment is split shot, and we use this for clearing speed, because if you check split shot, says you have 75% chance for an additional projectile when forking. So what that basically does is when a projectile forks, you hit an enemy, and the projectile divides in two other projectiles. So this makes it so instead of two, it has a 75% chance to generate 3 projectiles. So you hit the 20 Bonestorm projectiles, you have guaranteed 40 projectiles generated, and then you have a chance to generate 10 additional projectiles. So you end up with like 50, 60 projectiles. You will see mapping, especially when we are using power charges, that the entire screen becomes blue and you're hitting everything and you're killing entire screens basically just because of this and because of the snake pit. And then for the focus, you want spell damage, spell physical damage, mana, level of all spell skills, critical hit chance, and cast speed is basically the same as the one, but with all spell skills instead of physical because it doesn't exist. And again, if you can't find anything like this cheap enough for you, just reduce the tier of the modifiers or get something that is a bit less. Like for example, if you remove all spell skills, again, the cost of Bonestorm will go down, and it will be easier to manage, and then you will not lose that much damage if you look for higher tiers of spell damage and spell physical damage, and it will be way cheaper. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some breakpoints you need to hit. Like the main one, like the most important thing is that you hit, for your Bonestorm, you need to hit 0.3 cast time. And that makes it so we can cast Bonestorm while moving full speed without actually bugging it. Like I just click once, you can see remove my hand, and it casts a full salvo of Bonestorm, full speed, just because we have enough clear speed and because it is supported by Scattershot. So that's really, really important. Like that's the main thing you want to look for. Hit that breakpoint in cast speed, and from that point you can stop looking for cast speed and look for the other damaging stats. Then for the passives, I changed quite a lot from the previous video, and you can see like the start of the tree is pretty much the same. Then we go up again, but I remove this because I think you spend too many points going to that point. And then I spec into discrete, I spec into arcane surge, I spec into physical damage, more crit here, Physical damage here, staggering palm is really really good. Then some critical hit and increased damage when we critical hit, skill speed, mana regen, attack speed, and cast speed. So you can see I changed the tree quite a bit. This is the best I could find. If you have anything better or you found anything that is, I don't know, slightly better than my actual tree for level 91, just let me know and we can discuss it. That's why I'm making the videos. Basically, I met a lot of people. Um, for example, Narai has helped me a lot with building this tree, like with some of the things in the guide. And that's basically why I'm making the videos. And then we have for the gems, for the jewels, I mean, we look for sapphires and we look for spell damage, critical damage bonus, cast speed until you hit the breaking point. And then additional stats like energy shield from focus, for example, is really good. Or for mana sustaining maps, recover 2% of mana on kill. It's really important. But for damage, it's basically spell damage and critical damage bonus. And then you can look for example, when you cap cast speed, then you can look for critical hit chance for spells, which is also something you can get in sapphires. And then we have Prism of Belief, which increases the Bonestorm skill level. Again, this is for endgame, and it will significantly improve the cost of Bonestorm, like life and mana cost. It improves your damage, but it can break your build. So I would recommend going for this last when you have your build already figured out. And then we have a Megalomaniac, which is a jewel that is like anointed with 3 notable passives or 2 notable passives. In my case, I bought a really expensive one, like with heavy ammunition, projectile damage, and critical damage bonus, or a critical hit chance, I mean. But this is like not mandatory at all. Like, yeah, it gives me a lot of damage, obviously. Like, I think it was like Um, yeah, it doesn't show because it's a G well, but it's like 20k damage, but you still will end up with 150k. And if you soak it in another G well, that gives you like 10k DPS. Like it's not mandatory. It obviously will improve your damage, but it's just damage. Okay, it's not like gonna change anything in the build like mechanics or anything like that. And then lastly, for the ascendancy, we unspec the critical hit and critical damage bonus, and we went for survivability. I would say Grasping Wounds is probably the best with Vitality Siphon. These are the two that are totally mandatory. And then I would say Crimson Power is really powerful, but you can go for a more squishy approach and just take Core Spike. That will give you a lot of damage. Like, for example, in my case, like you have 3200 HP, you will get 80% critical damage bonus, and that's just massive. Like, it's a lot of damage for a notable, you know. And then maybe you can take Green Fist, and then you will have sustaining maps, but then you won't have tankiness in bosses. So it, you can basically decide if you want to play a bit more tanky and have more health pool, especially in bosses, or if you just want to play full aggro, full damage, and go for Gore Spike instead of Crimson Power. That's basically your choice. This is the one I think is best. I've done, as you see, I've done Arbiter with this, and I didn't need more damage. I've done now I've cleared Breach Boss full difficulty. I've done the Ritual Boss. I've done bosses tier 18, tier 19. I've cleared the Arbiter. Like, I didn't need more damage. I can tell you that you won't need. So I think that's basically it for everything I wanted to talk about. I hope I'm not missing anything. And I will get back to you on a map. I will try to show you a boss map, and you will see the damage, how I use Sigil of Power, and how the build display with power charges, split shot, and everything. Okay, so see you guys in a bit, and I will jump right into a map. Yeah, so it took me a bit to find an actual map with boss and tier like +2. So I'm gonna throw in, it's a normal level 16, but I couldn't find another tier 16. I corrupted many level 15 maps. But yeah, I'm just gonna show you how the clear speed works, how our boss damage works, and I'm gonna be running it with bone offering instead of with vulnerability, because I already showcased vulnerability before. So I'm just gonna show you how bone offering with sigil of power works, and you can decide for yourselves which one you prefer. Okay. So for clear speed, we just clear the first one, the first pack. We generate power charges, and then we start clearing everything. You can see explosions basically fill the entire screen, um, and you are clearing from one skin to another. Like you are literally clearing things that are out of the screen. Um, be careful with not getting trapped. Like sometimes you get trapped because with this +1 that makes mobs appear from the ground, you can get a bit trapped there. But we're pretty much never in danger, especially when clearing. It's more a bit with bossing and stuff. But I can tell you from my personal experience, that's mostly skill issues. Like probably if you're better at dodge rolling than I am, or uh, if you can do things better than me, avoiding boss attacks and stuff, you're probably do much better. Here we have you can see that, for example, the essence mode, there is a rare mob. We cleared it with just one simple Bonestorm cast. Like everything that is one cast, like there's nothing you have to do other than press W and press Bonestorm non-stop for the entire map. Like, okay, this one survived, but it was a rare mob out of the screen, like literally outside of the screen. You cast it at a rare mob and they just die. Like, for example, let's try it again. Here we cast it, he dies. Like it's so simple. Everything dies with one Bonestorm cast. I'm gonna look for the map boss now, and maybe you can see how fast we kill it. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Like there's nothing complicated to the build. Like there's nothing you need to know for it to work. Like it's just basically you kill something, you press profane ritual on it to generate power charges, and you press Bonestorm. You just need to press it once. You can press again to change the direction. Like for example, I throw in this direction and I want to change. I just click wherever I want to throw it. But it's basically I'm just clicking once and it casts a full salvo of Bonestorm. Basically, I don't have to bug it. I can run full speed. There's nothing more to it. To be honest, like it's pretty simple, and that's something I really like about the build. Like before, some of you told me, okay, but it feels a bit bad to have to cast and channel, and you are working slow, and we basically avoid that problem. Like now, you can see I'm not staying still to channel at any time. It's just pressing Bone Storm, pressing W, pressing Bone Storm. There's nothing more to it. Um, Still, like if you have any doubts when I release the guide, you can leave them in the comments. You can whisper me at Durin Chaos. You can, yeah, feel free to do so. You can message me at Discord Durin TV. Mm, it's gonna take a long time to find the box, right? Here, for example, you can see I got a bit like trapped, so I just press Bone Cage, I press DD, and everything dies. So, okay, here's the boss, I think. Yes, here's the boss. Fine. Okay, so it'll be you put Sigil of Power, you press or Bone Offering. Um, yeah, it's like it's a tier level 82, T16 with maximum difficulty bosses, like top difficulty, and he dies in 3 Bonestorm casts. He gets fully stunned. You don't have to worry about anything. Like you don't have to avoid anything. for mapping, it feels amazing. I can tell you that, guys. So as I was saying, if you have any doubts, any comments, anything you need to know about the build, like it's pretty straightforward, but you feel free to ask any doubts in the comments. Okay, see you guys. Bye.